Welcome to the Sharon Jesus podcast. Good day to everybody listening. We are restarting the Sharon Jesus podcast. I'm here today with my associate pastor, Rob Gaddis, and our student pastor, Ethan Williams. Matter of fact, Ethan Williams, this is his very first podcast, as well as he is our brand new, to most of you as listeners, our new student pastor here at Sharon Church. Welcome, Ethan Williams. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's never have done a podcast before, so this is all new stuff to me. But yeah, I got as a youth pastor, I got hired in May. Yeah, end of May, or was it beginning of May?
Yeah, we voted on the last Sunday of April, so but you started that week, that same week, right before the first Sunday of May. You got your paycheck right there at the end of April, 1st of May.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right, so just what we're going to do, we're going to be tackling two subjects today, mainly no telling what we'll end up talking about, but we're going to visit with our new student pastor, Ethan Williams. We're going to get to know him, and also we're going to talk about memories of church camp, because right now Ethan and I are getting ready to go to church camp, and Rob is getting ready to help all things logistic, getting us there and back.
Burning lots of fuel.
Lots of fuel. That'll be interesting to talk about. Ethan, tell us a little bit about you. Just basically, where'd you grow up, and what's your interest?
Yeah, of course. Well, I grew up in Sheridan, which is not too far from here. It's about 35-minute drive. Lived in Sheridan, which is in the Grant County area. Know a lot of preachers from that region, and got to have a bunch of friends from that. And I went to Sheridan High School, graduated there, lived there for 20 years, and underneath my parents, of course, and my dad was a pastor at Calvary Missionary Baptist Church, or he still is, been there for 26 years.
The famous Terry Williams.
Terry Williams, yeah.
The eldest son of John and Jean Williams.
Yes, he is very old, yes.
Says the young man with no gray hair to the two guys with gray hair.
Yeah, I'm outnumbered. And being underneath my dad, him being my pastor was a great experience for me, especially when I, turned 16 years old and then surrendered to the ministry. I did that when I was 16, actually at church camp, and I know we're going to get more into church camp later on, but it was something spectacular, something I thought I would never do. If anybody really doesn't know who I am, they know I'm not the best social person ever.
Social butterfly.
Yeah,
nope.
not a big social butterfly, but over time I've been trying to do better on that. But when I was freshman, sophomore in high school, I didn't talk to anyone. Actually, I remember my freshman year. To graduate, you have to have a credit in communication, where you have to do all kinds of different assignments, and you have to talk in front of the class. And my dad actually did the same thing when he was in high school, and we both could not stand that
I
class.
Can see that,
yeah,
because I knew your dad whenever he was 18, 19. I think I met him when he was 19. And yeah, he had to be, because he's about 6 months older than me. And no, he was pushing 20 when I met him, and I can see that wiring.
Yes, and it definitely is genetics. Me and him were not the biggest social people. That's when I was so surprised when the Lord first started calling me. I believe He was calling me when I was 14, and I just would not give in, because I could not stand talking to people and public speaking. Of course, there's a lot more to a pastoral role than speaking. But that part really scared me to death, and also my age really scared me.
Because you were 16 at the time.
I was correct. I was 14 when I believe the Lord started first calling me, and then I held off for 2 years, and then 16 hit, and I was still extremely scared about it. But then I went and talked to my dad for a long time. We had a bunch of just these little late night talks, and he gave me some great wisdom on what being a pastor is, and how much of a responsibility it is to be. And but that after all that, I surrendered to ministry. And then over time, at 19 years old, I actually was an intern at my dad's church just for the summer, not a very long time. And that was a great experience. I got a lot of, understanding of what youth pastors do. It was great. I loved it. It was eye-opening because, on the outside, for the longest time, just seeing youth pastors, not from a pastor standpoint, from a youth pastor standpoint, I thought it was, the easiest job in the world. And I was like, wow, anybody can do this. And I figured out it's not. It's not.
What would you say so far? You're 2 months in, 2.5 months in, really. So you had all of May, all of June, now, half of July almost. And what's surprising to you about being a student pastor?
Being a student pastor, there's a lot of different things that happened over a time, but it's really something I love about being a youth pastor is getting to being able to communicate with students and just listening to all different stories of what they're going through in life and what they're dealing with, and their path, and how if they're saved, their walk with Jesus right now, what's that looking like, and encouraging them is what I love. Sundays when I see them walk in, of course Wednesdays as well, but we've been in the summer right now, so just currently
it's a totally different schedule.
Right, and seeing them there on Sundays at their church, just with a huge smile on their face, just them wanting to be there, I think that's amazing, and that really that excites me.
I think it's neat how they all sit up front together.
Yes, they get the.
Because when I grew up, our youth group was in the back.
Mm-hmm.
We were back row.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of the churches I've pastored. They've sat in different areas,
mm-hmm.
and I've seen the front.
And they haven't always sat up there either in this church.
Mm-mm. No, they started that probably around COVID. They eased up there. It could have been before, but.
Hey, I got a question. So back to your youth.
Mm-hmm.
So before 16, what did you see yourself being, or what did you want to be?
That's a great question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah, because, I always wanted to work the trade because I've always heard people, it's a great, you can make great money. My dad was an electrician for a long time, over 20 years. He actually had his own company, and then he, surrendered to ministry. And he was doing that while he was in ministry, but he left that and then pursued to be a pastor full time. And I didn't get to see him much in my teenage years, but when I was just a boy, just watching him in that field, that's something that really interested me. And so for the longest time, I told myself I want to be an electrician when I, grow up. And then I started taking classes in school. They built a brand new shop there where you can do all kinds of stuff. You can work with power tools, and they had a welding class, and I started doing that. And I was like, oh, now I don't want to be an electrician. I want to be a welder now.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
I wish I could weld. That'd be a neat skill
awesome.
to have.
It's awesome. It's so much fun.
I've piddled with it before and was taught by my dad. He called it guerrilla welding. It was big, ugly, and strong.
Yes, and I love that. And that was the dream, go make money, make as much money as I can, and then, that's the goal of life. And but when I turned 14, I started to figure out maybe that's not what my career path is.
Okay, so he worked on you for a couple of years.
Yes.
God, that is.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And kind of like you were saying, you were second guessing yourself. Maybe obviously had some inner doubts, but those all happen to
Yes.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've gotten here to Sharon. Rob and I are excited to have you. He didn't want to tell you to your face, but he was bragging on you. And we noticed immediately, and so did several church members, you were talking about one of the things in leadership we noticed about what you were doing. You were, so to speak, using a public term, you were working the room. You would visit with people, and probably something you've seen your dad do, and like you said, that's not your natural wiring. So you probably have to work at that.
Yes.
And by working the room, for those in our listening audience, all that means is just visit with people. Just visit with people, because that's our calling. People. Yes, the gospel, but the gospel plus people is kingdom work.
Yes.
And
But getting those relationships and those bonds is very important.
Yes.
With our church family.
It is, and just sitting over to the side expecting people to come to you as a minister, that's especially in the South, which is the only place I've ever lived or worked, or pastored, so to speak, and that's what you do. You visit with people, and you just be interested in their lives. The rest will happen, those conversations. That end up being spiritual or gospel conversations.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've had several conversations where it's been just about talking to church members about hunting, and then we'd talk about fishing, and then we'd eventually start talking about the Bible. And it's just that's how it is. If you can find a way to connect to people, I feel like it's just. And then you can, at the end of the conversation, middle of the conversation, you can start talking Bible, and that's great, especially, and it's a lot easier too in a church setting. Out there at Walmart, maybe it's not so easy, but I love. You got to love people at church, and it's not just that I have to. It's because I want to.
Sure.
I want people at church. I want to love them. I want to have a great relationship with them.
We're headed now to church camp, and we'll be headed to the world famous Bogg Springs outside of Wicks, Arkansas. If we have a listener that is not familiar with that place, it started in 1960. I happened to be a trustee for two camps owned by the American Baptist Association, Bogg Springs and Pine Springs. Pine Springs started in 1972 in East Texas. I started going there in 1978. Anyway, and that was my first time ever away from home. When you surrendered the ministry at church camp, that was at Bogg Springs, right?
Yes, it was.
Probably the week that's called Southwest.
Yes, it was. Camp. It was Southwest. Believe it was in late June. Don't quote me on that. It could be different. Yes, that. Like I've been saying, it was something that was building up a lot over time.
You remember what night of the week it was?
Yes, it was on it was a Wednesday, because I remember Thursday we had a full day, and I got to share with everybody, not bragging about it, of course, but just I got to share the awesome experience that happened. But it was on a Wednesday, and then Thursday, of course, is our big final night, and then Friday we leave. And I remember at lunchtime, there was a bunch of messages that I heard about surrendering to the ministry, because there was pastors talking about, it used to be something that would happen, a lot more. There used to be people that would surrender to ministry a lot more. And of course, that's not why I surrendered to ministry, but and then it really got me thinking, and I came down to Lord, what do I do? I've wanted to plan, and I've wanted to make money, and I thought I figured out my career and what I want to do after I graduate high school. But besides me, Lord, what do I need to do? And then, of course, at lunch, what I was getting back to, I went and talked to my dad for, this was the final straw. And
he was there.
Yes, he was there at church camp. Yes, and he was there when I went to lunch. And it was just me and him. We had all these people around the cafeteria, and he sat at this table by himself. And I walked over to him. I had my lunch with me, and we just sat there and ate lunch. And when I talked to him, and he told me I think he got kind of tired of me asking him about it. So he really just told me, he said, Ethan, if the Lord has been bothering you for this long, I think you need to pursue it. And I said, okay, I'm going to pray about it. And we both prayed about it, and here I am. And
you said yes to the Lord.
Yes, I did, and it was middle of church camp. I've seen great things like that happen at church camp. I didn't get saved at church camp, but I was convicted at church camp, and I didn't. That's the first initial thought. I remember it was Brother Jimmy Easley. That he preached a sermon, and as he was wrapping up his sermon, he started to get to this part about hell, and it really got me thinking.
He was preaching there at Calvary?
No, this is at Bogg.
Oh, at Bogg,
yeah,
okay.
Bogg. I don't remember what night it was, and I don't remember how old I was.
This is, okay, back where, when you were, I was thinking about he might have been in a revival or something.
No.
So it was at church camp.
Back at church camp, and he gave that sermon about hell, and I knew I was lost, and I knew if I died right now, where would I go? And I accepted Jesus Christ. Of course, I talked to my dad again.
Yeah.
I think he got tired of me talking to him.
I bet he did.
No, he probably he's a pastor. He's used to that.
Right.
Yep. And you do that with your kids. And so you got saved. Did you walk down the aisle at church camp and talk to your dad during the invitation?
Yes, I did. Are you talking about when I surrendered to ministry?
Surrendered
yes,
to ministry.
I did.
Yeah.
He was actually preaching that night, and he wrapped his sermon up. Of course, they did a big invitation. And funny story about that. I don't think I've told y'all this. I may have. I can't remember.
Well, we probably won't either.
Yeah. And well, when he got done preaching, he went to invitation, and he told me beforehand. He was like, "You come, if you pray about it, and if you want to come to the altar, you come down, and we'll pray right there." And I said, "Yes, sir." So I came down to the altar. They were giving an invitation. He was standing there. One thing about my dad, when he gets on a tangent of preaching, invitation wise, he can't stop talking. So I get all the way down there.
He's still going.
He is still going. I'm standing there. I'm just looking at him on the stage, and so I just stand there and I freeze. And I stay there for, it felt like forever. But I turned back and I tried to walk back to my seat, and I looked back, and he's giving me the signal. He's saying, "Come here, come down here." I'm like, well, he's finally done talking now. So I go down there, and we do, and we pray, and it was an awesome prayer. That's a prayer I'll never forget, and it was amazing, and I loved it.
Pretty cool. That's
It's a great story.
neat memory.
Yeah.
as we're headed to church camp, and
By the way,
great
tell them
things.
where it is geographically.
Yeah,
Because I tell people to go to Oklahoma
and then turn around. a little bit.
and then back up about 5 steps.
Yeah, we looked at it the other day on X, which is a map where you can measure stuff. As hunters use the boundary lines for as an app, and as the crow flies, it's 2 miles from church camp. So it's not far at all.
Yeah, the border.
Yeah,
Oklahoma border,
definitely western Arkansas.
Middle of nowhere, though.
Yeah, there's nothing
around there.
Pike County, I think it is. I may be
Is
wrong.
it Pike?
Well, I may have the county wrong.
Yeah.
There's no telling.
You can find out in a minute.
Okay.
What church camp did you grow up at, Rob?
I don't think I went every year, but it was Snow Springs. I was on Highway 5. There's a flea market there, but it was a Church of God camp.
Out of Hot Springs?
Yeah, If you're going from Benton to Hot Springs, and it's just right. I looked at it on Google Maps. I mean, it is before you get to the Gulf of Gorge turnoff. But there's a flea market there now. But yeah, it was pretty basic. No air, And I think that was I'm like you. I think that's the first time really extended away from my folks. But yeah, I mean, it was just. And I remember drinking out of these aluminum cups, which I never liked. It just felt weird in my mouth. I don't know, just silly that way. But yeah, that's where I went.
But my favorite memory of all church camps is 1986. I met Karen Reese, or Wilkes at the time, my wife. First time ever I was at Bogg Springs. I was sharing this memory, and it's not really the favorite part. Favorite part's meeting Karen, but I was telling Ethan because he's packing for church camp. He also had the opportunity to move into our parsonage. We have a parsonage, and so he's got a really nice place to stay. But he's living out on his own, first time, moved out of the house from his parents. And so I was just picking at him, hey, you got to pack for church camp by yourself, all by yourself. I said, make a list. Matter of fact, Karen's already, because she's going again with me. We've been to church camp together for umpteen years.
Have y'all ever missed?
Oh, yes. Because I was bivocational pastor early on, and there was 1 or 2 times. Once, I think she went without me, and she took some kids, and I'm working at the sawmill, I believe, at the time. And there's probably 1 or 2 other times she missed when she was with child, and so on and so forth. The summer.
Yeah, I was wondering about that the other day. Y'all have such a long history, apart and together.
Yes,
at that place.
Yes, lots of them. She attended. She grew up there. I grew up in Texas but yeah, I had an important bag. I left in the dorm room there at LMBIS Seminary in Minden. And the bag contained all my towels, washcloths, and underwear. So basically, I had 1 pair of underwear for the whole week at church camp. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. That was. I'd wash them, hang them out to dry, just go around. Just had shorts on. That's all I could do. Church camp, 1986, and she did not know that bit of information. Probably whenever we were visiting.
That's like when you got the nerve to speak to her, correct?
Oh, yeah. I walked up to her.
Commando.
Yep. Gosh. Anyway, yeah, that was, it was only embarrassing to myself at the time because I was making the best out of, life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah.
So do what I can to at least stay clean and wash the underwear off and on part-time. Ethan, do you have, besides, of course, the spiritual highlights that you just expressed, a favorite memory of church camp? Of course, you've only been to Bogg Springs, correct?
I've been to Bud Creek 1 time.
Okay.
1 time, yeah. We
Was
went
that
1 year.
with Calvary or somebody else?
Yes, we went there with Calvary.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's the only time, and it's just hard to beat Bogg. I mean, Bogg is just amazing people. They've got all their stuff put together. Not saying that Bud doesn't. They got their stuff put together too, but it's hard to beat Bogg just because of all the memories and all the great time, and that we have great speakers there and such a great outreach and such a great ministry there. But to answer your question, there's a bunch of memories that I have outside of that. I can tell you stories of, when I've had fun, when I've gotten in trouble, times with my brothers that we've had, because also my brothers, they used to go all the time when they were in a youth group.
I've got to hear about getting in trouble. How did you get in trouble?
Oh, man. Which time?
Good night. You got to figure out a time?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, it's usually classic if, they've rebuilt it, of course, but at Bogg Springs they have the bell. And it's really loud. It's in the middle of camp, and it is always guarded. And here's why. Because when I was a teenager, I believe. I may have not been a teenager yet, probably 11 or 12 years old. I'm not entirely sure. But the goal was to sneak out of the cabin and in the middle of the night and go ring the bell. That was, that's the classic.
That's the mission.
Yeah. So every time you hear the bell ring in the middle of the night, that's why we started that, But not really. I think it was my dad that actually started. He always got in trouble there.
As far as Southwest Camp.
Yeah. Yep. And, I went there. You go out, you sneak out, you ring the bell, and they have people that literally wait and pray on you till you get there, and they chase after you. And whether it's on foot, sometimes they'll have ATVs out there.
They're wanting to catch perpetrators.
And they'll tackle you. I mean, full sprint. They will. They don't care.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we'd sneak out, and I rang the bell. And immediately I started hearing yelling, so they were already after us. So I take off in the woods. And, that was one of the many times that we went out.
You got caught then?
Yes, we did get caught. And a few years ago that we actually got caught worse because we snuck out. And, I'm trying to fully remember the story. We snuck out, and they were trying to find us, and I actually felt bad because it was our youth pastor, Tyler Freeman, trying to find us, and he could not find us. He was out there forever. And we started laughing at the beginning, and then after time passed by, we started to feel bad.
We call that conviction.
Yeah, we did. we started to feel bad. So, well, and nature got its revenge, because when we were hiding in the woods, we got poison ivy that night.
Sin has its penalties.
Yep, we were laying down in the grass, or not the grass, in the woods behind it was I can't remember what building it was, and my uncle was out there. John Mark is his name. He's a pastor as well, and he shines us down with his flashlight, and we couldn't run, couldn't go anywhere. They already found us, and we all got up. And we woke up the next morning, and I had poison ivy everywhere.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So apparently you are allergic.
Yes, I am.
Most people are. And which is a neat side fact. If you heard him mention his uncle, his dad has 3 brothers, and all 3 of them have surrendered in the gospel ministry.
3. Yep. They're all 3 at a church right now, and they're all doing great. They're excellent people and excellent pastors. They also were a great role model in my life, and I love every single one of them.
Yeah, when your family gets together, there's a bunch of folks. I mean, of course, 5 siblings, and they've all got kids.
All have kids.
I got a question.
Your first cousins.
Yep.
How do y'all decide who prays?
That is so. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
Usually, it depends, because when we have like Thanksgiving, we have to rent out a whole church.
Yeah.
Usually, like a whole church gym. And usually, whoever's church it's at is the one who prays.
So the host pastor.
Yes, the host pastor. So, last year we had it at Tony's church, in his gymnasium, and he got
Holly Springs.
Yes, in Holly Springs, and he's the one that prayed, and it's whoever typically hosts. Before that, before my grandpa passed away, Big John.
Oh yeah.
He was the one that led out and everything, because he was the legend,
patriarch.
Yep.
He had a lot of Jerry Clower mannerisms. Just he's
awesome.
He's loud. He's flamboyant. He loves to laugh. Carry on, joke,
Yep.
pick.
Okay.
Loves to sell and buy things and cars and.
Love to wheel and deal. He could wheel and deal anything, and he can make a joke about anything. I mean, he didn't have to write any illustration down about his sermons. He just off the top of his head, he knew it.
Umpteen stories.
Yes.
Well, back to Bogg. I'm a newcomer to Bogg, and I got to tell you, there's just something special about that. I don't know what it is. The Spirit really moves down there. I've only been there, I think we've stayed maybe 3 or 4 times, and I've been to service otherwise. So I'm still new to Bogg and learning about it. But, man, there's just something, and I'm not the only one that says this either.
Yeah.
There's something about that place that the Spirit really works and moves down there in people. I was thinking about this a minute ago. I would love to know how many lives have been saved down there and how many have surrendered to ministry at the Bogg.
Yes, there's thousands.
It's got to be.
Yeah, every year they give the stats, and it'll be anywhere from 300 to 500 salvations, and anywhere from 10 to 50 will surrender to ministry.
Yeah.
Just depends on the year, obviously, and. And I've heard stories back in the day about the men and women who sought out the purchase of the property. People at the very beginning, probably right before, and Doug Curtis, he did all the history, the previous superintendent, and his dad was a long-time superintendent. Between the two of them, it was right at 60 years. They were the superintendents of Bogg Springs. And they talked about how many people prayed over the property before the purchase, during the purchase, after the purchase, just praying over the property that God would use this as a tool or a means for what you just said.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the stats also. There's been probably hundreds of people have found their spouse at Bogg Springs, and just including my son-in-law who met my oldest daughter Taylor there. I remember I didn't
Reckon he had underwear on.
I think he did at the time, and because that was a common joke for a little bit. They knew the story, but I say I accidentally introduced them. I said, why did I introduce them? But anyway, no, he's been a great son-in-law, and he had already surrendered the ministry. Like me, he was already a preacher.
Okay.
Whenever I introduced him, because I taught him first year at Cabby, and for our listening audience, that's Central Arkansas Baptist Bible Institute, which is hosted here at Sharon Church, and I'm just so thankful this time of year. Summer's flying by. Any other words y'all got as we wrap this thing up? Summertime.
I think the last cool thing that I can say about Bogg Springs that I really just love, and not even just Bogg Springs in general. I've also seen it at Bud Creek, another phenomenal camp with some great people there. I'm not knocking on Bud Creek. Don't get me wrong. I love Bud Creek. But one thing that I love about church camp is, as you get there, the kids and students are crazy, and a lot of what the pastors will say, they got a bunch of the world on them. And then as the days progress, especially when you get to Thursday, and that's usually when it starts to hit hard, and we have some great speakers usually on Thursday. And it is just amazing what it's like when you have a whole group of people following Jesus and talking about Jesus 24/7, waking up talking about Jesus, going to bed talking about Jesus, and it really just why can't outside of church camp be like this? And it makes you think like that all the time.
It is a small window of time, and you're right. Karen's had students actually say, I hate to go back home, because they may have a home life that's not what you just said. It's not about Jesus.
Right.
And it is. You're inundated with a spiritual presence. Even, I mean, from the cafeteria, obviously, to the pulpit, there is a spiritual presence.
I'm wondering, is you just getting a little taste, maybe, of what heaven will be like?
Yeah, I think so.
I know that's far from what heaven's going to be like.
I'm sure heaven will be cooler than Bogg Springs.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hot next week, too, by the way. 99.
Yeah, I see it.
But anyway,
degrees.
but just, you know what I'm saying? Where you can, that's all you do is worship God.
Yeah.
So.
And at Bud Creek, speaking of Bud Creek, shout out to Reggie and Miranda Walling, the superintendent there, and his wife. They do a great job. But yes, for those Bogg Springs faithful, it is something special, and it just has, that's the way it's landed. And I hear so many people talk about their church camp where they grew up, and they have those same memories, and that's great. And but we get tired at church camp. We won't get tired in heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You won't get tired.
Yeah.
The
You're
temperature won't ever be off.
Won't be tempted to ring the bell.
No.
Probably won't need underwear. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll have the appropriate attire on, I'm sure. Yeah, that's it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another edition of the Sharon Jesus podcast. It's been great. There'll be more coming your way. We're going to make this a regular thing. Starting out, this is the summer right now, the mid of July 2026. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Hope y'all have a wonderful day.